All right, we're looking at Chapter 10, Section Lesson 2, Volume of Triangular Prisms, and it starts on page 747. But we're going to actually skip on over to 748. The top of 748 is saying the definition of the volume of a triangular prism. It says the volume of a triangular prism is the area of the base, big B, times the height, little h. And so it uses the symbols V equals big B times h, where B is the area of the base. All right, so same formula that we used when we were looking at the rectangular prism. Base times height, big base times height, where big base stands for the area of the base. In a triangular prism, the bases are congruent triangles. It's the only two triangles that they have when they're talking about the bases for a triangular prism. It's the only two triangles there are. So the base, B, is a triangle. So the diagram below shows the volume of a triangular prism is also the product of the area of the base, B, and the height, h, of the prism. So of course the height of the prism is shown here. Now it's not always going to be the case, and we talked about it in class when we did our examples of the tent, that there's going to be times where our bases are like a tent here, like the ends instead of the top and the bottom. And so our height ends up being this distance right here, which is kind of funny since it's not how tall it is, it's, this length right here. So you'd have to realize that this is going to be the h and that finding the area of this triangle will be the capital B. So number 1 says find the volume of the triangular prism. And so the first thing we do is attack the B. And I always like to do that split screen. What's B going to be? Well, the area of this base is a triangle area, which is 1/2 times base times height. So we look for our triangle, and look, they've given us 3 numbers. They've told us 8, 10, and 12.8. And so it's important that we know which numbers to use because we only need 2 of those numbers. So this is going to be the most important part of this drawing for this first part. Sorry about my phone going off, guys. All right, so let's check it out. This right angle right here tells me that this is my base and this is my height. Or this is my height, this is my base. It doesn't matter. The height and the base come to each other at a right angle, and so I'm using the 8 and I'm using the 10. Right now I'm not using the 12.8, and honestly I don't know if I'm going to use it at all. So I'm going to do 1/2 times 8 times 10. And so half of 8 is 4, 4 times 10 is 40. So that's just a start. So I find 1/2 of so I found the base, the big B, and so I'd like to make my own. So my big B is 40. Now I need to find what the height is. Is this the height or is this the height? Okay, I've got these 2 numbers left over. Well, clearly, if you're looking at the picture right now, you see that this would be the height because the height is where we come from the 2 triangles and connect perpendicular. So any of these 3 sides are called the height. So that would be my 13 meters. So I'm going to do 40 times 13, and ultimately that ends up being 320 meters cubed as our final answer. And I feel like in class it was coming out more smoothly, but I'm glad that they put in some extra dimensions that we didn't use in class because that's what happens. They give you more than you need sometimes, and you need to figure out which ones to keep and which ones to get rid of. So I'm glad we had an example like that. So for A and B, remember which ones are our bases, and let's solve for the volume. Sorry, I guess I colored that and made it really obvious which one the base was. So go ahead and do A and B, and when you come back, I'll have the answers. All right, here are my 2 answers. Notice for example A, they gave me two pieces of information that I did not need. All I needed was the base here and the height here, which came at a 90-degree angle. And then later I needed the height of the actual prism itself. Just like this. For B, I just needed the base and the height here, where it comes to that right angle, and then the height of the actual prism itself. So check your answers against mine, see my work. Let me know if you have any questions in class. We're going to move on, or you can pause. Alright, so the base. Before finding the volume of a triangular prism, identify the base. Remember that that's always the triangle. Okay, the base of a triangular prism is a triangle. In exercise B, the base is not on the bottom. It's actually one of the parallel faces. So it's important to understand that base doesn't automatically mean that it's on the bottom. It's helpful when it is, because that's what we think about when we think of base. But in a triangular prism, the triangles are the bases, and it doesn't matter where they're at. Alright, so the large skateboard ramp is shown. Find the volume of the triangular prism. So it tells us that the base is a triangle. Well, we know that the base is the triangle. Okay, this gives us that 90-degree angle, so we know that we're going to be using these two dimensions for our triangle. So for big B, I'm going to be using area is 1/2 times base times height. So 1/2 of 10 times 7. 1/2 of 10 is 5, times 7 is 35 feet squared. So for the big B, I'm going to substitute in, I'm trying to find a place to write here, I would be substituting in the 35. And for the height, we're looking for this other unit, which is going to be 4. And I know that seems odd because it's not very big of a height, but it's not a very tall triangular prism either. And so we end up doing 35 times 4, which is 140 feet cubed. So for C, I find it interesting that they give you this one right after that last one when it's not the same. Basically, they're saying they want you to find the volume of a triangular prism, okay? And it's saying that the base is 32 square centimeters and the height is 6 centimeters. So basically, I'm just going to put together kind of a generic little thing right here. They're saying that this base, they've already given us as 32 centimeters squared. And then they're telling us that this height is 6 centimeters. So when we go to our volume formula with the big B equals H, or sorry, times H, we already know what the big B is. They've already given it to us right over here when they said that it was 32 centimeters squared. And then we know what the height is because they also gave that information to us, and so now we can solve 32 times 6. So they've actually done part of the work for us. Instead of making us find this triangular base, they've already given it to us. And we know that because it gave it to us in square centimeters. And it does say base. It doesn't say capital B because it's not going to give it to you that easily, but you need to know that it's the base of the triangular prism, and that's 32 square centimeters times the height, which is 6 centimeters. And so we end up with 198, oh no, sorry about that, 192 centimeters cubed. So 192 centimeters cubed. Now we're going to go into finding dimensions, missing dimensions again. To find the missing dimensions, you're going to replace the variables with the known measurements and then find the one that you don't have. So it's all about plugging in what they give you and then solving for what they haven't given you. So for this first one, when we go to,
Ryan,
sorry about that. So we've got the big base is going to be the area of this triangle right here. And so we have to know this is our right angle. It's going to give us our base and our height, or our base and our height this way, whatever way you want to think of it. So area equals 1/2 times base times height. And so that's going to be 1/2 times, and let's use, this is our 1 here, times our height, which is 0.3. And so I'm going to do 0.5 is 1/2 times 1. And then that's going to be times 0.3. And so in the end, I end up with 0.15 centimeters squared. Okay. So then for my volume equals base times height, let's plug in what we have. We have the volume is 12, because that's what they gave us right here. We have the base, which is 0.15, and the height is actually the dimension that they didn't give us, so that's times h. So now we just do our magical t-chart and solve for the letter h. So we're going to divide both sides by 0.15, and we do 12 divided by 0.15, which, lucky they did the math for us, is going to be 80, and so 80 centimeters is the unit that's missing. And please make sure that you're writing 80 centimeters, not cubic centimeters or square centimeters, because this is just a dimension. This is just the height, and they're not giving that to us in cubic or squared centimeters. All right, so now we're going to work on D, and again, they've given us the volume. This time they've given us the base and the base height, and we're missing the height again, just like in the last problem. So if you'd like to draw the picture, you can. You know, just do two triangles next to each other, something real simple, and, you know, label things appropriately. So the height is what's missing. This is 2, and this is 5. Oh, that doesn't look like it's probably that way. Let's say 5 and 2. And so now we're going to use our volume equals big base times height. Split screen, our big base is area equals 1/2 base times height. So we've got 1/2, and the base is 2, and the height is 5 for our triangle at the end here, because that's what we're focusing on. And so 1/2 of 2 is 1. 1 times 5 is 5 kilometers squared. So back over to the original, we're going to plug in 5. We don't know the height. That's the one thing that was missing. And they did tell us that the volume was 55. Now we're just going to do our t-chart. Divide by 5 here, divide by 5 here. We get h equals 11, and it's 11 kilometers is the final answer. Example number 4 says Dwayne bought a cheese wedge. How wonderful for him. For his March Madness party. That must be very exciting to buy cheese wedge. The cheese wedge has the dimensions shown. The volume of cheese wedge is 54 cubic inches. What is the height of the cheese wedge? So again, we're going to use our volume equals base times height, but over here we're going to find what our big B is, and that's our area of the triangle with a right angle here. If this is 3, then this is also 3. And so we do 1/2 base times height, 1/2 of 4 times 3, 1/2 of 4 is 2 times 3, and so, oh, that's inches. So we have 6 inches squared is the area of our base triangle. So going to our amazing formula, oops, I had it over here already, sorry. We know that this is 6, but we don't know the height. And then they did tell us that the volume is 54 cubic inches. So now we do our t-chart, divide by 6 on both sides, and we find out that the cheese wedge is a height of 9 inches. Again, just inches, not square inches, not cubic inches. So fun, fun, fun. If you'd like to practice a little bit more on your worksheet that I handed out, you may. If not, we'll go over some more examples in class. Have a great day. See you in school.